Inside this tiny hole was where thousands of slaves were kept for many days and even months during the slave trade era. But before I give you more details about this, let me tell you a short story. 5 centuries ago, slavery was a big market in Africa, if not the biggest. It was so lucrative that many countries were fighting to get a share in this new business in high demand. And because of how profitable it was, the Europeans would do anything to gain from it. So they didn't care about the lives of our people but treated them like animals, but the painful truth is that some animals were even treated better. To sell an animal for profit, you obviously need to feed it well so it looks good even though it misbehaves, so that you can sell it for profit. But with slave trade, it was different. To punish the strong and stubborn slaves and break them down to having no form of self-esteem, the recipe is starve them and make them suffer. You can't let them enjoy for a single second or else they could revolt against you, thereby spoiling your business. So you invent something brilliant, or will I say evil, that breaks their ego and keeps them under your control. The underground holding compartments. In this film, I will expose an unforgettable history in Africa, and I am traveling down to Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria to do this.
Look at how tiny this place is. Like, this is where they kept slaves. God.
We are currently at Ikarabasi local government area in Akwa Ibom State, where a lot of Africa and Nigeria's history is preserved. During the slave trade era, which happened all around Africa, Nigeria was a major location for the business. It is said that over 3 million slaves were gotten from the country. From southern Nigeria alone, hundreds of thousands of slaves were shipped through this river called Imo River. A floating jetty was constructed in 1795 by the Europeans for the purpose of conveying slaves into the waiting ships, which would then take them to Europe and America. And this bridge was called the Bridge of No Return. It was called this because the moment a slave stepped on this bridge, they were not allowed to look back and they would never return to their homeland again. Very sad, right? But before they were shipped to Europe and America, these slaves were kept inside this small warehouse where they would be waiting to be transported. They were weighed here in exchange for things as small as wrappers, umbrellas, and mirrors. In the process of waiting here, some stubborn slaves would try to revolt or escape, which could spoil the European business. So the Europeans couldn't risk losing money, so they came up with an idea. Let us invent 3 small underground holding compartments with a very tiny hole to enter, with a space that can contain just 30 of our goods. Sorry, I meant slaves. We can't let our goods, or rather our slaves, to escape or be comfortable for a single moment, or they may stir up a revolution and spoil our business. Nice idea, right? So these 3 compartments were constructed with the floating jetty. But now we have another issue. Our goods are too many. We need to maximize the little space we have. Yes, we created it for just 30 of them, but it doesn't matter. Let's put 150 slaves inside. I know it's 5 times the number we constructed it for, but they'll manage. So that is how 150 slaves were put into these small compartments that was created for just 30 people. These slaves were kept here, and I cannot even imagine the pain and suffering these people went through. I stepped in to see for myself what it looked like, and I was shocked.
We are about to climb the Bridge of No Return, and we are going right inside the slave bunk where they used to store the slaves. So we are heading towards the Bridge of No Return now.
Okay. Like, how many places was it designed for?
It was meant for 30, but 150 were kept here at a given time.
Meant for 30, but they kept 150.
Yes. You can see we are standing on top of the water. It's a floater. It's the floating bridge.
Look at how tiny this place is. Like, this is where they kept slaves. This is very, very bad. Just take a look at how small. Look at how small it is. See how small it is.
This place is so tiny, and the craziest part is they made a very tiny hole for the slaves to breathe through. This is where they will get their oxygen for the coming weeks and months before their ships arrive to pick them.
This is the breathing space.
The breathing space?
Yes, if you open that door, it's all.
Jesus, this tiny hole.
Yes, and
This too small breathing space for 150 people.
I learned that some would even die in the process and their bodies were thrown into the river. So if you survive this, you are considered to be lucky. So many questions ran through my mind while I was there, some of which I cannot even share in this film. Our forefathers really suffered, but it still baffles me how a person can treat their fellow man in such a manner. This is a very sad story to share, but it's a part of our history in Africa that can never be forgotten or erased. And I also share this because Niger Delta has a lot of Africa's history wasting away, which many people don't even know about. As someone who is very enthusiastic about history, it is not just sad to see this story or hear about it, but it's also sad to see a very important historical site that is not being invested in to boost tourism in the country. When I look at countries like Ghana, Tanzania, and Rwanda, with the way they are able to preserve their history and tell their stories in a manner that boosts tourism and contributes to the lives of the people in the country, it just makes me more sad about the leaders we have here. The way Rwanda transformed and used their genocide story, telling it in a way that makes people want to listen and spend money in the process, which now contributes to the nation's development, is very inspiring. And I think our Nigerian leaders should take a page from their book, or maybe even borrow the whole book instead. Tourism is the new big thing, and if the federal government does nothing, then Akwa Ibom state government should take responsibility about this historical site. We cannot change our past in Africa, but we can use our history to generate revenue that impacts the lives of our people, and I hope we see more of this happening in other African countries, especially my dear country, Nigeria. But beyond revenue generation, preserving our history and telling these stories, especially through films like this, is very important, because a lot of people may never learn about this if storytellers like myself do not travel many kilometers across 3 states and even spend a lot of money in the process to document this. So I really appreciate you watching this film to the end. Please subscribe and turn on post notification so you know when I drop a new film, as I will be dropping more documentaries and travel contents like this across the Niger Delta region in the next 5 to 10 years. I spent about 4 days in Akwa Ibom State, and I must say that it is one of the most interesting and eye-opening journeys so far. Akwa Ibom is a state of so much beauty and history that if you want to enjoy it here, it can take you weeks to explore the state. In Ikorabase alone, there are so many historical sites to visit. I visited the 1914 Amalgamation House, which was Lord Lugard's office and where the idea Nigeria was created, and the slave warehouse where thousands of slaves were kept. There are also places like the oldest bank in the country and many more. Also note that Akwa Ibom has been ranked the cleanest state in Nigeria for many years, and I had to go see it for myself. They have one of the best road networks in the country. They also have the best stadium in West Africa currently, amazing food, beautiful culture, and wonderful people. This place is calm with beautiful parks that when you visit you can just sit down and have fun. As a creative, it was also a good place for me, as I could walk around comfortably with my camera without having any issues with anybody all through my stay. These are some of the reasons why I think Akwa Ibom State has a great potential for tourism, with so much stories that are unique to the state. I will be dropping films about my experience here in the coming weeks, so this is the best time to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any story that I upload. They will also give you an idea of how the state looks like if you decide to visit. Thank you so much for watching and stay wonderful. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Also check this playlist here to watch more interesting videos, and see you on the next video. Thank you so much for supporting.